Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the meeting of the Facilities and Recreation Committee, Tuesday, December the 8th. The Council would like to advise that this meeting will be live streamed to YouTube and will subsequently appear on the Council website. Could I please ask that all mobile devices are either switched off or to silent during the meeting? Thank you. Apologies.
Councillors Gardner, Geldart, Grayson, Miss Abley, Mrs Smith, Mrs Thompson and Miss Thompson.
Declaration.
None received.
Members' dispensation.
None given.
Public questions that are none.
None for this evening.
Planning.
None for this evening.
So item 6, decoration of the town hall.
Yeah, Chair, if I can take that for you, thank you very much. Firstly, I just want to explain a little bit to members about how this report came about. It was my intention to include the redecoration, etc., of the town hall in the budget for the next financial year, i.e. 2021. However, as the office, as an officer of the council, it's my duty to ensure that the best possible resources are used in the best possible way. Just to make it clear, this isn't a project, this is business as usual, as it falls within my remit as the facilities manager to ensure that all of the town hall's premises are in good condition, and the main hall and the town hall, the jewel of the council's crown, and what we have to offer for many, celebratory events such as weddings and engagements, that the building's in tip-top condition. Therefore, I brought this report forward to this year due to the fact that the town hall's already closed due to COVID, and it seems an ideal opportunity to undertake the work whilst the building's closed. And this will prevent the town hall having to close early next year when buildings are open, when potentially the council could lose business and lose income, and inconvenience for hirers and affect their businesses as well. Further, there's an opportunity for us to use the underspend on the events budget, and I think the finance manager might want to talk a little bit about where the budget's coming from. Lastly, in relation to the suggestion potential moving of the 2 miners banners, I need to make it very clear to members that if the town council does wish to consider moving them, before that can happen, the town council, through myself as facilities manager, will need to consult with the Durham Miners Association to discuss the agreement between ourselves and the town council re the banners. Lastly, to ensure that the integrity of the procurement process is maintained and that no accusations can be made against any staff or officers or indeed members, the quotes received have been anonymised as usual, and I can let you know that we actually went out to 6 decorating businesses who were asked to quote. Of them, 5 attended the town hall to carry out an inspection, and subsequently we've received 3 quotes from them. In relation to the furniture, we had 5 invitations to quote, and we received 2 quotations from them. So just getting to the report, the purpose is to provide members it's to request members approval to undertake the decoration and refurbishment. The current position is the decor condition is poor, and in the public areas and the colour scheme looking dated. The council's function business due to COVID, like other similar businesses, is closed. However, with redecoration and refurbishment required, it is seen as an appropriate and suitable time to undertake such works prior to the businesses being reopened again. It is therefore proposed that the work, subject to approval, is undertaken in January 2021. Consideration has been also given to possibly relocate the 2 current miners banners within the hall into a more prominent location on the stage, and that would make them, have higher profile for prominent civic events such as Remembrance Sunday and civic events. They're currently located under radiator in the town hall, so they're getting fluctuating temperatures. If we were to move them, and subject to consultation, as I've said previously, they would remain within the current wooden protected casings and be placed at the back of the town hall. Obviously, from a financial perspective, members will see that we've got 3 quotations there, companies A, B and C. And from the refurbishment of the chairs, we've got companies A, B, and also with B, they've provided a quote for a replacement chair rather than a refurbishment chair, which at £6 more looks a very attractive proposition. The total activity we're proposing comes to 22,480, so 9,880 for the decoration, 8,600 for the chairs, proposing that we buy new ones. I've put a figure of £3,000 in for lighting and £1,000 for blinds. So it's proposed that we agree to company C for the decoration work, and we go with company B with the replacement chairs. That the current 8 ceiling lights and wall lights are replaced with something more keeping with the new decor, with a budget set aside of £3,000. The blinds are replaced to provide decorative blackout blinds, which are important to local theatre companies who use the facility, and I've set aside a budget of £1,000 for that. And members agreed to relocating the 2 miners banners, obviously subject to consultation, into a more prominent location on the stage as part of the work that's been undertaken, and there's some visuals there for members to see. Members' recommendations are that members consider the proposals and options that set out, and also subject to agreeing that members also agree to waive standing orders to enable the works to be placed so that the work can start in January 2021. I'm happy to take any questions, Chair.
I've got nobody in the chat room at present. Councillor Foster.
Thank you, Chair. I think this is the appropriate time to go ahead with the work as the outlined. It needs to be done, and this is the appropriate time to be doing it. I do, however, have a couple of concerns. If I can deal with the miners banner, you mentioned the 2 banners and the appropriateness of putting them on stage. They are currently located in the main hall and can be seen by everybody who goes into the main hall at any time during the day. They are secured within cases, and they are secured against a wall as a permanent fixture. My concern would be if we did locate them on the back of the stage, how they will be secured, how strong that security would be. And while it's perfectly true, it would be an appropriate backdrop for Remembrance Sunday, for a band concert, I'm not quite sure it will be the appropriate backdrop for a theatrical performance. If we did a pantomime or anything like that, it wouldn't necessarily be an improvement on the backdrop which we already have. The backdrop, as I understand at the moment, remains the Spennymoor Town Council logo, clearly displayed on the back wall, which is a universal, fits in with all occasions. And I personally would prefer if the banners stayed where they were, maintained in a good condition. As you said, you have an agreement with the Durham Miners Association to ensure that that's done. The reason I think that is, there are times when the stage curtains are closed, at which time the banners wouldn't be on display. There are times when performances are taking place and there are breaks between performances when people have a chance to chat. Now, normally in a break between performances, the curtains will be closed. Where the banners are now, there is an opportunity, and I've used it myself, to talk to people about banners, or people have asked me questions about these particular banners. Obviously, I can declare an interest if you like. I'm an ex-miner, and I had the proud privilege of carrying the Spennymoor banner through the streets of both Spennymoor and Durham on a number of occasions, including with the current banner taking it into the town hall. And I know that's not one of the banners we're talking about today, but in terms of setting the tone for the town and how much the town appreciates the banners. on two other points, on terms of the lighting, if the lighting needs to be improved, I hope we have a look at the efficiency and the energy saving options when we do explore the new lighting. We're all keen on reducing our carbon profile, and one of the ways you can do that is by providing suitable lighting at a certain suitable level. The chairs that we've currently got were provided by a local firm, and I think it's longer than the time it's mentioned in the report. Unfortunately, that firm, to the best of my knowledge, is no longer available. So I do agree that we need to take a look at the new chairs. Now, one of the things that we did do when we purchased the current chairs was actually physically go and look at them, physically sit in them, because I found out something I never knew before, that the chairs have a timing ratio on them. There are chairs you buy that you want people to sit in for a considerable time, and there are chairs you buy where you want people to move on in a relatively short time. And I'm sure that we'll get the appropriate chairs because we will be expecting people to sit in there for maybe 2 or 3 hours during a musical performance. So we want chairs that are both comfortable, and from a practical point of view, how easy is it going to be for the staff to move these chairs around? How easy are they going to be for them to store them? And I hope those things are put into consideration.
Thank you, Councillor Foster. We'll be taking things a little bit ad hoc. You've mentioned a couple of items there, all 3 items. Give you the opportunity to come back maybe later if we're looking for more information. In the meantime, Tracy Woodhead would like to say something.
Thank you, Chair. Just
our finance manager.
Thank you. Just on the back of Mr. Anson mentioning the finances and a little bit of information around those. Last week, I reported to Policy and Resources about an underspend of just over 42,000. Now, the proposal is that this activity is actually funded from that underspend. The underspend is across a range of budgets, as previously been reported to members. Significant part of that is increased income that we've received. So 16,250 from the CREM and just over £6,000 we've had from Durham County Council with COVID, and then we've just been announced we've got another £4,000. So just to give members a little bit of information, we've also got an electrical repairs budget, which I proposed that the lights would be able to be funded from them. So as I say, just a little bit more information for members on the underspend and why I recommended that the underspend be used for this activity. Thank you.
Through you, Chair, are you happy if I go back to Councillor Foster and respond to Councillor Foster's comments?
Well, maybe we would let the other people speak, and then you maybe be able to come in and answer a few questions in one go, Colin. Next to speak is either Clyde Madison or Liz Madison.
Thank you, Chair. When I was mayor, a number of the theatre companies came to me and said, look, we need blackout blinds. We haven't blacked the windows out. This is a necessity. So I'm 100% behind that. The lighting, yeah. You can get more inefficient lights, which would cost a lot more, yeah. The chairs, if they are out of date, people will start putting claims in, so we probably will have to renew them. Decoration, I'm not 100%, but if the town hall is closed, I think it's the right time to decorate it. Going on to the banners, it must be about 12 years ago when we had 2 or 3 quotes in for the Kitson Arch. We were going to move them banners down there, and it was a no-go. Most of the people, well, I think all of the people, the 2 guys from the DMA, a lot of I think there's only Andrew Smith still alive, everybody that was involved, Jim Smith, and we're told, no, we couldn't move them. They would have to stay where they were. One of the alternatives, I've looked at these for a long time, and I don't think they're appropriate. If somebody's getting married, they don't want them there. I think we could have a major, if we decided to move these, I think we could have a major disaster on our time. This is a history which people have. It's like when ex-councillor Darks and councillor Machin said they were renaming the Kitson Arch. all the outcry there would happen with this, and I'm not willing to let this go ahead. When you come into the main entrance in the town hall, we have a Derek Slater mural, and that has a large curtain which is opened and shut. It's opened and shut for various events, which, I mean, a lot of people don't want to see that when they come in, so the curtain's shut. We could do the same with the banners. We wouldn't have to go and ask people from the DMA if we left them there. If we left them on the wall and got the right coloured curtain and fringe to close them, the same colour as the walls, nobody would know they were there for weddings and things. And then when we have our proper civic events where we celebrate our history and that, they would be open. They would probably be open 90%. It's just, that's the way I look at it. And I've looked at this a lot of different ways, and putting them behind the stage isn't the right, they're about that wide and people would damage them. So I think we should leave them where they are, cover them with a curtain, then it can be opened. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Madison. Now, I think our new councillor, Councillor Rachel Richards, would like a word. Welcome.
Thank you, Chair. Just a couple of points in this for myself. I was fortunate enough as a new councillor when I had my induction meeting with the town clerk to tour the building with Mr. Ranson, and he did explain a little bit about the history of the miners' banners, and in passing about the redecoration of the town hall and the possible relocation of the banners. With regards to the relocation of the banners, I have a background in theatre and I've done a lot of performances around the North East in historic venues such as Spennymoor Town Hall. And I do support the idea of moving them to the back of the stage, because what Councillor Madison was saying about curtains to cover them in their current position, it would, as a perspective, as somebody who has recently got married, looked at wedding venues as well, it would distract from that as well. But putting them in a prominent position on the stage, right in everybody's eye line, they're visible to everybody with illuminating light so that they are, more attention is drawn to them, would be much more respectful, I think, in having stage black curtains that would support theatre productions as well, but also give the prominence to the miners' banners. With regards to the decoration, when I toured the upstairs of the town hall, it did feel quite dated and busy, if you understand my meaning with the colour scheme there. That something a bit more neutral would be more appealing, and in turn increase the amount of people that come and have weddings, christenings and events like that at the town hall, providing more revenue for Spennymoor. Yeah, that's me. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor. Colin, before I bring you back in, can I speak to Pete Malloy? Because then Clive's asking to come back in. So we'll speak to Pete, then we'll come to you. Now we'll see what Clive's got to say, all this. So over to you, Pete.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I support a lot of the comments what Councillor Foster said regarding the banners, and Councillor Clive Madison as well. I don't think it'd be appropriate to shove them at the back of the stage there. That they're quite well where they are currently, very respectful and that, and I can't see no reason whatsoever to move them, because it is part of the town's heritage, a strong heritage it's got in its mining, and that should be respected above all, you know. And people coming into the town hall to rent it for a function, they should also respect that heritage as well. It's all part and parcel. With regards to the blackout blinds, I understand, yeah, and the lighting, chairs, yeah, it makes sense if they need replacement to buy new ones. I'm just concerned over the decoration. I know it mentions in the report that was 2015, and it says it's looking a bit dated. Are we going to have a major redecoration every 5 years now with the expense? And also, I think it could upset a lot of people in the town, because rightly or wrongly, when we had the previous town clerk, because of the amount of money spent on the town hall, it was nicknamed as Pauline's Palace, because people thought that, you know, that's where all the funding was going. We've had, for example, we've got other places that could do repairs, like Rock Road Cemetery Wall, which I first brought to the attention of Councillor McAloon back in 2015, and he brought it to the council, and it's still in the same poor state it is. You know, we should be looking at our other assets that we got first and prioritising and having a look at them and bringing them up to scratch before looking in. That's all, Chair.
Robert Wright, Facilities Manager, can I bring you again, please?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just if I take Councillor Foster's points in relation to the chairs. The chair company who supplied them all them years ago, Councillor Foster, is still around. And ironically, you know, it's a local company who they also did the work when we refurbished the chairs up in the balcony. And we're very fortunate that that same company is proposing to work with us again. So your fears or any concerns you may have had around the chairs, I hope will be alleviated knowing that the same company of years ago who designed and brought the chairs to the town hall are still around and happy to, or willing to work with the town council again. Obviously, in terms of the lighting, it's a balance between making sure we get some decorative lighting that is in keeping with the hall and the decoration, but also, as you suggested, looking at efficiency as well. In terms of the banners, it's completely members' choice. You know, I'm comfortable with whatever members decide. It's members' choice. But in terms of the decoration, the building needs decorating. You know, we can't be expecting officers to sell in weddings and functions coming into the town hall in the current condition that it's in. You know, the building needs decorating in the public areas.
Before I bring Liz and Clive back in, who've already spoken, I think Ian or Judith were one of the councillor matrons who want to speak.
I think it was Liz rather than Clive that wanted to speak before me.
Yeah, okay. Liz, you want to have a word?
Thank you, Chair. First of all, with regard to the banners, I do believe our heritage is important. My grandfather was a miner and a very proud one. And I think there's a lot of people in the town that have a lot of respect for our mining heritage. I don't think that there is a problem with the banners being left where they're at. I would like to say that when my husband Clive was mayor, we were fortunate to be invited behind the stage for one of the performances that was there. And that stage is very cramped at times, especially if there's a full cast there. You have movement of a lot of curtains, scenery, and the danger would be to move the banners to the location suggested that they could be damaged. There may be other costs involved in reciting them. I really don't think that we should be going down that avenue. With regard to the lighting, I do think that we can improve on the lighting, maybe put some mood lighting in as well and look at the sort of options that are available there that'll give improvements. Again, to look at efficiency with the lighting, so that is important. With regard to the blackout curtains, I agree, those are important as well. Now, on the seating themselves, there is reference in the report to increasing the capacity in the hall by changing the type of seats that we've got. If we actually do change the capacity in the hall, would that then limit the size of the chair that we would get in there? And also, I'd like to ask Mr. Ranson, what is the capacity that we're allowed under our insurance for people coming into the town hall? Because that's another factor in the sort of chairs that we do put in there. I do know that sometimes with the chairs that we've got at the moment, that they can be very cramped when you've got a full hall there. So I would like to see some of the designs for the seating before we actually make a decision on moving forward with that. I would also say that on a lot of the weddings that we have in the town hall, we currently have the chairs decorated. So we would need to go for something that would be appropriate for weddings as well. So again, another example of seeing the type of chairs that's available before we make a decision on that particular item. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Madison. Can I bring in Councillor Ian Machin now, please?
Yeah, I'd echo the comments made by Neil Foster, and also by those who've said moving the banners looks to be risky. And Liz is quite right. Councillor Madison's quite right. Behind the stage, there isn't much space. And as Councillor Foster said, he's going to have curtains across them, then you wouldn't necessarily see them. So I think I'd be in favour of, I'm not against moving them, but I can't think where you would move them to, and I'd be concerned about the damage to them. The last thing I'd like to say is, I'd like the comments by Councillor Madison, Clyde Madison, about me proposing a different name for the Kitson Arch. That's not true. And he's got the evidence for that. I'd like him to produce it. In fact, as we keep minutes of the meetings and what's being said, if you go back to the P&R meeting when I was chair of P&R, I said in front of everyone that no one, as far as I was aware, had proposed to change the name from the Kitson Arch to John Kitson Arch.
Thank you, Councillor Machin. Can I bring in Councillor Dean Ranyard now, please?
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Yeah, I think now is an opportune time to do the redecoration work that needs doing if the town hall is closed. The town hall is a prominent building in the town, and it is a way that this council makes revenue. Therefore, we need it to be in a condition that appeals to people who want to hire it. So I would say yes, if the decoration is looking tired, looking dated, that it is a logical thing to now consider getting the work done when there are no bookings for the town hall. Can I just have some clarity on what areas are going to be decorated? Because it says the main hall and the areas leading to and from. So I'm assuming that is the foyer outside the town hall. Is it the stairwells as well? Is it also the bar? I'm not sure it would be the bar, because I think the bar was done fairly recently, more recently than 2015. So if I could just have some clarity on that. So it was done in 2015, so that's 5 years ago. So it does seem a rather short time scale. I would have thought maybe decoration would last a bit longer than that. So I'm just wondering, is there anything in place? Is there a plan of when areas will be routinely refreshed and redecorated, or is it just taken on a basis of as and when is required, as and when things are starting to look tired? In terms of the chairs, I think Councillor Mrs. Madison makes a good point that we should probably see what the new chairs are going to be like. Are they going to fit in with the existing chairs? Because if we're getting 100 new and we're going to be using them sort of alongside the old chairs, then they have to be compatible and not look vastly different, I would say. So I think that does need to be considered. I think Councillor Foster makes a really good point about the energy efficient lighting. If the lighting is to be replaced, it should be done with the most energy efficient lighting that is suitable, so that we are reducing our carbon footprint as a council in the town hall. And in terms of the banners, I think there are pros and cons for moving them. I'll share some of the concerns about them being at the back of the stage. The theatre companies that use theatre groups, theatre companies that may use the town hall will be bringing in equipment, lighting equipment, curtains, etc., and props. And there is the potential that there could be damage to the glass frames on the banners. So I think that is quite a serious concern, which would sort of make me think moving them may not be the best idea. But I can see that putting them in that prominent position would look good in terms of civic events such as Remembrance Day and the town band concerts, etc. So I've just made a few points there about a few questions. So if the facilities manager would respond, that would be appreciated. Thank you.
Are you happy for me to come in, Chair?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Let's hope. I hope I picked all of the points up that members were making. Certainly, from the chair perspective, there would be a similar size chair. It would be a similar size seat and everything as the current ones. The proposal would be that, just taking up Councillor Ranyard's point, they would look different because the red ones would not. The red ones are in keeping with the current decor, but on a more modern decor wouldn't look right. So the plan would be that we buy 100, and then as we have a little bit of money going forward, we replace on a like for like. So eventually we move the red ones out and we move in with a new colour over a given period of time. The point that Councillor Liz Madison made about weddings is a really good point, because the red chairs, nobody wants them for the weddings, so they want to cover them, which is a cost to the bride and groom for the event. Whereas the proposal with the new modern chair, we might find a lot more weddings not wanting to incur the cost of having chair covers put on them, because the chair will look more in keeping with the room and a lot more modern and a lot more attractive. You know, as a miner's son, and my dad was a miner, my granddad was a miner, I'm really comfortable about the miners' banners staying where they are. And I think that seems to be the most appropriate place for them, you know, if I'm listening to members, and it's important that we do. So
Thank you,
I'm not sure if I've covered every question.
Now, I've got 3 speakers left. All of them have spoken before, so I'm going to allow them to speak, then I'm going to have a word. So I'm going to take no more after that. So can I bring in Councillor Neil Foster, please?
Thank you, Chair. Having listened to the conversation from the members, and I appreciate the comments that have been made, can I formally suggest that we retain the banners in their current circumstances and situation, and obviously keep an eye on the condition and make sure that they're well looked after and maintained? Can I suggest that we go with Company C as far as the decoration is concerned? Can I suggest we go ahead with the proposal from Company B on the chairs? Can I support the blackout provisions that have been made? Can I support that we go ahead with the lighting and the other decoration arrangements as laid out in the report? I hope people are happy to accept that.
Thank you, Councillor Foster. I'll just bring the other people in and then we'll go to the proposals. I think Councillor Clive Madison would like a word.
Thank you, Chair. It's just the capacity of the hall. I think when we've had early civic dues early on, we used to get 180 people in when we had tables. I think that was maximum. I think there was 220 people in for the carol service about 2 or 3 years ago, and it looked to be about the maximum then. Can I bring the facilities manager and answer this, please?
Yeah, through you, Chair. It depends. The capacity depends on the event and the number of people attending. So it's more about fire regulations than anything else. We can actually, from a fire regulation point of view, we can probably get a maximum of about 250 to 280 on the floor. And we've currently got enough chairs to do that with what we've got. However, a lot of them are stained and not in good condition. So we've obviously got the options, as I've put in the report, that whilst if we bring in 100 new in, then them 100 could be used for a wedding or a special function. But for a one-off event such as Remembrance Sunday, we might decide to use all the red ones again. So we would mix and match, but we would work towards moving all the red ones out, and that might give us opportunities, and I might bring further reports back to council about giving the community centres some of the red chairs, so it might help our community centres. In relation to bringing the chair back to members, we really are up against it in terms of time to get this product ready and to go from February. So I don't know how I genuinely don't know how I would do that unless I can physically show you an image of one on screen and get one made, an image, get the company to design one and present it. But we're really up against it. So I'm worried that from a time perspective, we don't have the time to bring back. And then we got, well, I like it, I don't, can we have this, can we have that? You might just have to trust me on it and say, well, actually, Colin, just go with whatever you think. I'm working with the company who's provided us chairs over the years, so they know exactly what we want. They know the decor. I've shared the decor with people, so they know what the decor is. So it'll be in keeping with the decor that we'll be working.
Thank you, Colin. Councillor Ian Machin.
I guess I'd just like to echo the comments made by Neil Foster in summary. I'd support that. I just have a concern, and I don't have an answer. Could the facilities manager say what colour the new chairs are going to be? What's bothering me is that we're going to have 100 of one colour and 200 or wherever we've got red ones. And for a wedding, I just can't see anybody not wanting to cover them if they've got more than 100 people coming. So I'm just thinking about the practicalities of mixing the chairs. I don't have an answer. I'm not proposing that we replace all of them.
Through you, Chair, the proposal would be that there would be the same material that's used on the back seat of the back cover of the main bar area. So the black fleck. So it would be like a black fleck new chair. So it wouldn't show up any stains or anything like that. And most of the weddings that we're now getting is less than either 100 or less than 100.
Okay.
I said I wasn't going to let nobody else come in, but Councillor Liz Madison's asked to speak, and she has only spoken once, so I'll make this the last one. Thank you, Councillor Madison.
Thank you, Chair. A question was asked with regard to the bar area, because that is rather nice looking area for visitors there. So I would hope that in any refurbishment, the bar area is left. It is more recent, that decoration. And the other thing to ask is that the memorial room, where we currently have quite a lot of red chairs, is that an area that Mr. Ranson is considering to have refurbished as well, with new chairs and new decoration, or is this something that is for another time? Thank you.
Through you, Chair. Firstly, I must apologise to Councillor Dean Ranyard, because yes, I didn't go back and cover the question he asked. So Councillor Ranyard asked for the description of the areas that's being proposed for the redecoration. So that area is, if you imagine you're coming in from the foyer on the ground at the main function area, so all the way down to the doors where the staff entry goes, all of that would be redecorated. The corridor down to the lift where the public access the lift, that would be redecorated. all of the stairs all the way up to the memorial room, but not into the memorial room, including all the spindles on the stairs would be completely redecorated. All of the areas up to the bar area, but not including the bar area. All the areas in the public toilets, but not in the public toilets. All of the area around where the disabled toilet is, where just outside what I call the main hall foyer on ground floor 1 would be redecorated. All of the main hall would be redecorated, and also going out of the main hall and going up the other stairs to the memorial room would also be decorated and not going into the memorial room. So I hope that answers members' questions.
Okay, thank you, Colin. I would just like to say a couple of words. I put a lot of thought and work into this this agenda, including attending the pre-agenda meeting, and I had a number of concerns of why we wanted to do this. Firstly, we had nothing in the budget this year to do it. There was nothing in the budget next year to do it, and we've only just finished our budget, and we've only just sat down on the 17th and 19th of November and went through next year's budget. So to me, this came a bit out of the blue. I understand the discussion around it would be a good time to put it in, but I also had concerns around whether we were actually fulfilling our obligations through the financial regulations, especially around environment on 4.13C. Now, I've had some information from Tracy, and I got that this morning. I've had the chance to review it, and I'm still worried that going forward that we might get things coming out, what people would say, out of the woodwork. So I would like to, when the officers are looking at doing work, we try to get a little bit more advanced information other than just when they pop up on pre-agendas. So that's all I would like to say. Now, could we just move on now with the proposals and recommendations? Councillor Foster, could you repeat what you were saying again, please? And is anyone would like to second what Councillor Foster's recommending or moving?
Yes, Chair. I would like to propose that we retain the miners' banners in the situation that they're in at the moment and in the condition that they're in, and support that. I believe that
second that.
Thank you. I support it.
Councillor Foster, do you mind if we just sort of get a general agreement on that as we move along, so we know where we stand? Do people generally agree that we leave the miners' banners where they are?
Can I speak, Kevin?
Okay, Ron. Yeah, there's plenty of opportunity, like.
Yeah, I've just been digesting everything, and I'm sorry, I've got a bit of a sore throat at the moment. What I would like to do, obviously, I'm in total agreement with Councillor Foster, but is there any possibility of having things put around that was suggested by one of the members on occasion like weddings and things like this? I thought that was a good suggestion.
I think the general agreement is that we leave the miners' banners where they are, but there may be that we need to do something to try and make it more attractive, for the want of a better word. So I think Councillor Foster was happy that we leave the miners' banners where they were, and I think that was a general agreement. And if we needed to do something to enhance the situation, the facility manager could do that. Is that along the lines everyone is thinking? Do we need to go through a formal vote and take these recommendations one by one, or are we basically saying the miners' banners should stay where they are?
Stay where they are.
Stay where they are.
Stay where they are.
Stay where they are.
Yeah. Thank you. Right, the second proposal that you made, Councillor Foster, I think it's just in line with what's on the sheet,
Exactly.
but we might as well.
Yep, so we go with Decoration C, we go with B and the new chairs, and that we go with the rest of the decoration as outlined in the report, including the blackout blinds, the people have already mentioned.
Second that.
Do we need to go through a formal vote, or are we all agreed with that? I'm certainly agree with that.
Agreed.
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 Great.
Okay then.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
the recommendations are that we leave the banner where it is and that we go with company C for the decoration, company B with new chairs. Okay?
I think the facility manager asked for standing orders. Can that be applied?
Yes, I think we can move standing orders. I think we've given that a good airing, so I think members have had the opportunity to say what they wanted to say. So we'll move on to the next item, please, which is community building heating plant and systems feasibility study. And I said that with my teeth in.
Yeah, through you, Chair. The purpose is to provide members with an update position in relation to the potential solutions to heat issues in community buildings. Just a little bit on the background is the council have put aside a PC sum of 37,000 in total for the building heatings. The council agreed to investigate the best solutions of each location with that, and that DCC would have a look at that for us. And undertake a feasibility study and that would get reported back to members, which is what I'm doing this evening. We've got a response, we've got a report back that basically provides a one fixed solution at 326,007 pence to undertake the proposed works. The proposal is that members agree for officers to investigate alternative delivery models to that proposed by DCC and create a local solution to each building and bring a further report back to council with costs on what that might look like. And members are recommended to approve the proposals as set out in section 5 of the report.
Can I bring in Councillor Foster?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you again to the officer for providing the report. I agree that we need to work with each centre individually and take on board what each centre's needs and concerns are. But I think it's also equally important that the solution that we do get is as efficient as we can possibly make it in terms of our climate change and energy possibilities. And if there are opportunities to draw down grants, which there used to be previously, European grants, I don't know what's going to replace the European grants, but there may well be that we can work on the energy efficiency of each building and enhance it as far as possible as part of this report.
Thank you, Councillor Foster. Now bring in Councillor Ranyard.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks to the facilities manager for the report. It's slightly disappointing, I think, that you know, we've spent over £2,000 for this feasibility report, which then suggests that the total cost to do the works is over £300,000. That's nearly 10 times more than we've got budgeted. So it's a bit disappointing that they couldn't have given a range of options for that fee rather than this very expensive option. Obviously, that option that's been provided is way beyond, I would say, the current means of the town council. So therefore, we're going to have to look at alternative solutions. So as what's proposed in the report, I support that. And I also agree with Councillor Foster's comments that in looking at alternative proposals that are more in line with the budget we have available, we need to look at the most energy efficient, environmentally friendly systems that are available. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean. Can I bring in Councillor Liz Madison, please? Oh, sorry. Councillor Ian Machin.
Thanks, Kevin. I guess like Councillor Foster and Councillor Ranyard, I'm speechless with regard to the Durham County Council, £326,007. Biggest belief for the community centres, which most of them are smaller than a 4-bedroom house. So yeah, I support the proposal as it stands, and echo the comments about energy efficiency, and if we can get grants to support this, then so much the better.
Thank you, Councillor Machin. Can I bring in Councillor Liz Madison now, please?
Thank you, Chair. I would just like to ask, as part of the review of these buildings, that we also are looking at draft proofing with the windows and the doors as part of the overall scheme, because you can have the best heating system in the world, but if you have all your heating going out of windows and doors, then it won't be very cost effective. So I'd like to add that into the proposal, that we do check all of that in each of the buildings.
Thank you, Councillor.
Can I, sorry, Chair, can I just come back on that? That isn't in the current remit, so we would have to add that. And if we're going to start looking at replacing windows as well, then we really are looking at a big budget here requirement that we haven't got.
Right, there's no one else in the chat room. I'd like to say something. I was very disappointed with what came back from Durham County Council, because I was one of the people with the facilities manager that tried to initiate to get something done, looking forward to the climate change and green energy, and was very shocked and disappointed when we got these results back. We had been told initially there could be grants available, and it didn't turn out the way we thought it would turn out. And from someone who sits up in community centres in the middle of winter at PAC meetings and absolutely freezing cold, I really would like now that we should waive standing orders and give the facilities manager the opportunity to move ahead with what he's planning on doing as quickly as possible. I take on board what Councillor Madison said about windows and that, but we haven't budgeted for that. That's something we can look at going forward, and I think it's something we should look at. But thank you for that report, and disappointed with what came back from DCC. As Councillor Machin pointed out, these community centres are no bigger than just a large house, and they come back with 326,000. Well, I can't believe it personally. So I would just like to, if someone could second me for waiving standing orders and ask the facilities manager to crack on and see what we can do on that.
I'll second you, Councillor Thompson.
Thank you. Right, can we move the recommendations?
I'll move them.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Right, we'll move on to item 8, vermin control. Who's doing this one? Danny?
No, I think it's, I think I'll pick it up, Chair, and if Danny wants to come in, if I've missed anything, and obviously Catherine's been involved in writing the report as well. The purpose of the report is the Facilities and Recreation Committee on the 8th of September 2020, it was agreed that the Town Council would undertake a pilot project on the 2 allotment sites in Byres Green to provide a picture of any issues in relation to rat infestation. The report provides an update on that pilot. There's obviously Appendix 1 in relation to Byres Green Gardens and Appendix 2 in relation to the pens. I don't know if, Danny, you want to talk a little bit about what the inspections brought up and how you found them with the officer from Durham County Council?
Through you, Chair, yeah. Obviously, the reports from DCC are quite explanatory, especially with pictures. Pictures paint, well, speak 1,000 words, shall we say. And yeah, we've got some recommendations of which way the council should go, and it's down to you guys tonight, really, to point us in the direction you want us to go.
I think the biggest issue, Chair, is that obviously when the inspections were undertaken, there is limited evidence, but there is evidence, and where there is evidence of rats being there, it's very clear that there's been poor housekeeping by the individual allotment holder, or there's been implications or from outside of the allotments that are beyond the council's control that was impacting on. And as such, it just seems from an officer's perspective that if we are to do anything here other than enforce the tenancy agreement, we are rewarding poor behaviour from allotment holders and punishing the good allotment holders who look after allotments and keep them correct and right. But obviously it's down to members to consider.
Right, I've got, I believe, Councillor Liz Madison.
Chair, my request to speak was for the previous item, but you moved on, so I'll leave it.
Okay, then I think we'll bring in Councillor Foster now, please.
Thank you, Chair, and again, thank you to both officers for the report. I think it's clear that we do need to ensure that the tenancy agreements that we do have are kept in force. And the biggest difficulty we have is with pests such as rats, the biggest determinant of what's going on is the weather. If we have a hard and harsh winter, then we'll have a reduced rat population. Rats naturally move around. They're not necessarily located on our allotments, but they can wander onto the allotments. And if bad tenancy difficulties is causing them to be attracted, it's something I think we need to challenge for the good of those allotment holders who are keeping up to the rules. So I'm happy to move and support the report, but I think we are going to have to cross our fingers and hope it's going to be a hard winter from the rats' point of view.
Thank you, Councillor. I've got Councillor Richards want to speak, so am I bringing her in, please?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I agree with what Councillor Foster is saying, but I've also been noting in the report in relation to the tenancy agreement, and that the report's saying that pigeons are kept, but only the tenants shall not keep any livestock on the allotment garden except for rabbits and hens. But when you look in the tenancy agreement on point 20, it says about authorised arrangements. So I'm assuming that is tenants that once kept pigeons on the allotments were grandfathered across and still allowed to keep pigeons. How many is that the case for? And if it's against the tenancy agreement, how are we enforcing that those that aren't allowed to keep pigeons, if they are keeping pigeons, and if that's increasing rat population?
Can I bring Danny
respond
in?
to that? Do you want to respond, Danny?
Through you, Chair, I couldn't give you a full number of how many sites have pigeons on at this present time, but I can get that information to you. But yeah, what you were saying is right, that people who had pigeons, say, perhaps before the 2016 agreement, they brought that forward onto this new one. But since then, the council have agreed and allowed pigeons to come back on to a particular site.
Thank you, Danny. Councillor Dean Renyard.
Thank you, Chair. I note from the report produced by DCC, they state routine monitoring baiting stations should be placed at key locations, but that's not part of the proposal that's being presented to us. So I'm just a little bit unsure how we progress. That's been recommended by Durham County Council, but all we're talking about is enforcing the tenancy agreements. So clearly there is a problem. It has to be dealt with. Are we saying that we're not going to be putting down baiting stations? We're just going to be leaving it up to the tenants?
Do you want to respond to that, Danny?
I think it's more down to what you guys agreed to tonight, to be honest, on what recommendation you want, which direction you want us to go in. But obviously, if you're asking for us to start putting these measures in place, then something's got to move, something's got to give, if you know what I mean, because of the staffing issues and everything else, really.
Just through you, Chair. Currently, we're not doing this, and it's not part of our remit or our role. If the guys are asked to do it, then as Danny's saying, they're going to have to stop doing something to enable them to do that work. And where there's good practices and tenants are conducting themselves professionally and correctly, there's no rat issues. So it very much is down to individuals' behaviour and what they have on their allotments would dictate whether they have a problem or not. Or that's the evidence we get from DCC.
Thank you, Colin. Can I bring in Councillor Ian Machin, followed by Councillor Billy McAloon?
Thanks, Chair. I'd like to thank Danny and the DCC guys for producing what's a very comprehensive report. And I guess echo, some of the comments that were made earlier. I'm just reading from the report where it says, the report has clearly identified that the majority of issues are coming from some allotment holders not complying with the tenancy agreement. I think the council owes it to the allotment holders who are complying with the tenancy agreement and who don't have rats, according to the report, that we take issue with the allotment holders and ask for compliance with the tenancy agreement, and then monitor the progress that we see, having initiated the pilot to see that it comes to a conclusion. So I'm supportive of the proposal that's made. I'm not supportive of the idea that the council pays for it, because I think, as the facilities manager said, that's rewarding bad behaviour. Thank you.
Councillor McAloon.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, 3 years ago, when we had an allotment consultant, we had no rat problems on any site. It's only since this council stopped putting rat poison down that we have a problem. And Byers Green is one of the best sites. I've noticed there that there's 34 pictures in Appendix A, no dead rats, no sign of any dead rats. 25 pictures on Appendix J, no dead rats, and no sign of any dead rats. Yet I've got hundreds of pictures on my phone of allotment sites of dead rats. And we're paying Durham County Council to do this. Why don't we get some proper professional and maybe it's like ask their allotment consultant to come back, who used to do rats, rabbits, moles at a fraction of the cost of what we're paying Durham County Council. And by the way, all our staff are trained in rat poisoning, and I've been doing rat poisoning before, so I don't see why it's not their job to do it, or why train them.
Would you like to move something there, Councillor McAloon? Can you condense that and make a recommendation to give somebody the opportunity to second you?
Well, yes, go on. Well, I'll recommend that we go and get, we try the allotment consultant, fetch him back in, see what he can see if he can help in some sort of way for the time being.
Have we got a seconder for council?
Can I come in, Councillor Thompson? We're not able to just choose someone to bring back in. We would have to go through the procurement process. We can't just go to someone and say, would you like this job? So it would have to go through the procurement process.
Yeah, I understand that. But no, well, we're getting a seconder for Councillor McAloon's motion to bring someone in. So not necessarily the old allotment consultant. Does anybody agree with Councillor McAloon that we should bring in an external rat catcher, for the want of a better word? Would that be okay to say that, Councillor McAloon? Is anybody ready to second that?
That would be okay, Chair.
I'll second that. In addition, Kevin, to what's written down, just want to be clear what the motion is. Is this in addition to enforcing the tenancy agreement?
Yes, I think Councillor McAloon has moved that we, well, I don't know, he's making the motion, but I am moving that in conjunction with enforcing the tenancy agreement, we should bring in a consultant or a rat, like someone who can deal with the rat problem on the ground.
Yes, that's what I'm proposing. That we bring somebody else in, apart from Durham County Council. Didn't say we didn't go to three tenders there, but yes, we bring a professional person in, an independent person. Doesn't matter who it is.
Have we got a seconder for that?
I'll second that.
That was
So you want to
Councillor
speak?
Hamer. Okay, is anybody want to speak on Councillor McAloon's motion?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Town
Yes, Chair.
Clerk wants to come back in. Sorry, Town Clerk.
Can I just say that actually you've cut the legs off from underneath Danny now. He can't enforce the tenancy agreement because you're saying you don't have to apply by the tenancy agreement, because if you create a problem, we're going to sort it out for you. And if I was a good allotment holder who was paying my own money to sort out the problems and was managing my allotment garden properly, I'd now think, well, why should I bother? Because the council's going to come in and sort out all my problems and pay for it. The other thing to mention is...
Excuse me, Town Clerk. We're not trying to cut anybody's legs off. We're giving Councillor McAloon the opportunity to speak and to move something that he wants to, what he wants to say. I mean, I understand that you probably don't agree with what he wants to say, but he's put a motion forward. He's been seconded. If the feeling of the other councillor is such that they agree with going forward with enforcing the tenancy agreement, then the vote will reflect that.
Through your Chair, can I
So-
come in one?
Yes. Yes, Colin.
I was just going to say, just in relation to Councillor McAloon's motion, and obviously he's had that seconded. At this moment in time, we don't have a budget to do that work. We'd also need to have a brief agreed to put that out to a procurement. So it's understanding what the role is. Is the role to come and identify if there's a problem or not, or is the role to come and solve the problem? I'm not sure what Councillor McAloon's suggesting.
I would like to say something. I've prompted for this visit to be done down Byers Green because I'm getting a number of complaints about rats. I am not an allotment holder, so I don't really know what the situation is. So I'm guided by the report. And I accept the fact that we should support the tenancy agreement, but do we need something above that? Should we initially go for a period of time trying to make people adhere to the tenancy agreement, then fall back on what Councillor Billy McAloon is saying? Because I've had a number of complaints about rats, and I understand what everyone's saying, especially what Councillor Foster's saying. A lot has to do with the weather. A lot has to do with the time of year where the harvests are being brought in. But the point is, Councillor McAloon's put a motion on the table and we can't ignore it. So I think we should move to that motion first. Are we going to go to a vote?
Chair, Councillor Clive Madison has asked.
Sorry.
I respectfully request to speak as I have a counter to Councillor McAloon's point there, and Councillor Ranyard I've requested to speak before myself.
Pardon? Councillor Ranyard to speak first.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I was just after some clarity about the motion, because I'm not opposed to what Councillor McAloon's saying, but I guess a report would have to come back to council with costings to be considered. So I'm just wanting clarity that that's what Councillor McAloon's proposing, that the council go out to seek quotes for a consultant to get a spec of the work that they would do, so that then it can be considered at a later date. Is that what is being proposed?
Can you unmute Billy and answer Councillor Ranyard?
Through you, Chair. Yes, Councillor Ranyard. Just to go out and get somebody, which it's exactly it's like a second opinion from Durham County Council. Durham County Council's been out there. They've charged us, what is it, nearly £5,000, something like that, and they haven't cured it. They've just told us that there's rats there, but there's no evidence of any dead rats, just pictures of rubbish. Now I want someone to go out who knows what they're doing, a different person, an independent person, to come back and tell us if he could cure that thing. We've had this before where we've killed 2 rabbits before in the cemeteries. There was none of this, you know, none of this then. Just an independent person, like an allotment consultant or something like that, to come back and just give us a bit of advice. Second opinion. Thank you.
Point of order, Chair. Councillor Richards has said she wants to put an amendment to Councillor McAloon's motion. So an amendment must be listened to and the amendment must be voted on before the original motion.
Chair, Councillor Clive Madison has asked to speak as well.
Councillor Thompson, you're on mute.
You to speak first, Councillor Richards.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just concerned with Councillor McAloon's proposal to get an allotment consultant in at an extra cost to the council and an extra cost to our local residents, when surely from the recommendations from this report, we should enforce that tenancy agreement. It's breaches of the tenancy agreement that are causing problems with rats. If allotment, we shouldn't be penalising and punishing those that are keeping their allotments in good condition and letting people just get away with keeping things they shouldn't be there, keeping them in, quite frankly, from the photos, a filthy and disgusting condition that's not safe or hygienic for any allotment holder. And I think that we should be enforcing that for a minimum period of 3 to 6 months before even considering going to another external contractor. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor. We have actually had a mover and a seconder, but Councillor Madison, are you wanting to speak in favour or against the recommendation?
A bit of both, Kevin. When we're looking at
we're taking the recommend. We're taking the.
Can I just
carry on?
Can you hear me? With the tenancy agreement, we can't alter anything for a year. We can't alter anything, so we can't really do this. The last consultant was great. He got rid of all the rats, no problem. The problem we had with him, he was getting on in years and he was spending a long time writing reports for this council. You know, this council wanted to know everything what was happening. If we do set somebody on, they've got to be hands-on, just do the job and sort it out and then get out. That's my opinion. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you. Councillor Malloy.
Thank you, Chair. Just also seeking clarification from Councillor McAloon's motion is like, I'm in favour of bringing in a consultant and support him on that. Is it to do this in tandem with enforcing the tenancy agreements as well? So that obviously you've got two ways of trying to sort out this problem, rather than just looking at the tenancy agreement, waiting the 3 to 6 months that Councillor Ritchie recommends, then bringing in a consultant, which we may have to do. So it's just seeking that as seeking clarification that bringing in a consultant is in tandem with enforcing the tenancy agreements.
Councillor McAloon, I see you nodding your head.
Yes,
I would imagine,
yes.
I would imagine enforcing the tenancy agreement is an ongoing process.
Of course.
And that will be happening anyway. So I think that we should move to a vote on who have we got to speak? Councillor Ian Matey would like to speak.
Thank you, Chair. This might fit with what you were about to say, I think. It seems to me that we've got the recommendation at the moment. There seems to be a consensus around enforcing the tenancy agreement, and we can get on with that as soon as possible once it's been ratified by council, or move standing orders, whatever. The process of getting a consultant is going to take a period of months, and as Councillor Richards said, that seems to make sense. So if we go through that process, identify how much it's going to cost, see what progress we can make by enforcing the tenancy agreement, then we'll be in a better position to understand what's required of the consultant once we've done what needs to be done, which is the tenancy agreement regardless. So So I'd move that Councillor McAloon's motion is to do the two in parallel. I'd suggest that we enforce the tenancy agreement first, but give consideration to looking at a consultant and what the consultant might provide at some point in the future. So stagger them in Councillor Malloy's words.
Councillor Clive Madison? And I think we've got to try and make a decision, make a movement on voting. All right, okay. Right. Councillor McAloon's motion is that we look to...
Point of order, Chair. My apologies for interrupting you. You've got in front of you, you've got a motion which was moved by Councillor McAloon and seconded by Councillor Harmer. You've got the proposal for an amendment which was moved by Councillor Richards, which is seeking a seconder at the moment. You've got a very similar motion from Councillor Machin, who could well have been in his own mind seconding Councillor Richards' motion. You'd have to discuss the amendment before you got to the final motion.
Wait, but Councillor McAloon amendment has to be taken first, and then the second amendment, and then to the motion.
My apologies, Chair. Councillor McAloon isn't an amendment. There is no other motion except his motion originally.
All right, yeah.
At which point Councillor Richards quite rightly has moved an amendment to which I believe, and Ian can correct me whether I'm right or wrong, I believe he's just seconded what Councillor Richards has done, which would make an amendment viable on the table, and it will be the amendment that you would have to discuss first. My apologies for interrupting.
Chair, can we hear Councillor Richards' amendment, please?
Can I just make sure that the secretary's got Councillor Richards' amendment down? Could I have it, please, so I can read it out?
Tenancy before we bring in an external consultant.
The amendment is we should explore that 3 to 6 months at least before we bring in an external consultant. So I'll repeat that we should explore 3 to 6 months enforcing the tenancy agreement before we look at bringing in a consultant. So can we take a vote on that?
And I'm happy to second that, Kevin, because that's much in line with what I said.
And Councillor Ian Machin second that. Right, are we ready for a vote? Right, who's first? You shout now.
Councillor Foster, can we have your vote, please?
For the amendment.
Councillor Harman.
For the amendment.
Councillor Harry is left the meeting. Councillor May.
We can't hear.
Yeah, Councillor Machin, can we take your vote, please?
For the amendment.
Councillor Mrs. Machin.
For the amendment.
Councillor Mr. Madison.
Against the amendment.
Councillor Mrs. Madison.
I'm against.
Councillor McAloon.
I'm against.
Councillor Malloy.
Against.
Councillor Ranyard.
Against.
Councillor Ritchie. Councillor Thompson.
Yes.
Councillor Ward.
For.
Thank you.
Can't hear you, Kevin.
Trying to avoid the feedback. It's a dead heat, and as chair, I have the cast and vote, and as I voted against the amendment, I will do so again. So the amendment failed.
Kevin, we can't hear you.
I'm just checking that we've got everything wrote down. We want to vote now on Councillor McAloon's motion, and I'm just making sure that our administrative department have got it all written down.
Recommendations be accepted, that we bring in an external consultant.
Councillor McAloon's motion is to bring in an external consultant.
Sorry, Councillor Thompson, I thought the motion was to actually go out and get the costs for an external consultant and bring a report back to council.
Well, I'm just going of what is written down. Can we just clarify that with Councillor McAloon again? I'm sorry, Town Clerk, but that's what we have written down at this end as being the motion. So, can you clarify that again, Councillor McAloon?
Through you, Chair. Just to bring in a consultant, have a second opinion to see what we can do with this situation with the rats.
Okay, and I believe Councillor Hamer, you seconded that, did you?
That's correct.
So we now go for a vote on that.
Kevin, just to be clear, does that also mean that we implement the tenancy agreement as soon as possible? Is that part of the motion?
I would say yes, because I think personally we should be enforcing the tenancy agreement anyway. Whether we're going to put extra resource into that, I don't know. But I think we as far as I'm concerned, we vote on Councillor McAloon's motion, and then the recommendation of the tenancy agreement. Maybe we should include that within. Councillor McAloon, would you like to?
Can I come in, Chair? Enforcing the tenancy agreement is part of the day job, and that's ongoing. So, for instance, everyone who's been identified as having an untidy garden from the 2 buyers' green reports will be receiving a notice that if they don't clear it up, they could be evicted. So that's an ongoing piece of work.
That's my understanding. So all we're really voting on here is Councillor McAloon's motion. Yes or no?
Correct.
So the motion and the amendment, the motion is to look now, and the amendment which failed was to wait 3 to 6 months and then look. So Councillor McAloon's motion is to look now.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll go through the process to look now, as opposed to waiting 3 to 6 months.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Complicated. Going to vote now.
Councillor Foster,
For.
Councillor Harmer,
For.
Councillor Mr. Machin,
Against.
Councillor Mrs. Machin, for. Councillor Mr. Madison,
For.
Councillor Mrs. Madison,
For.
Councillor McAloon,
For.
Councillor Malloy,
For.
Councillor Lanyard,
For.
Councillor Riches, against, Councillor Thompson, Councillor Ward.
For.
10 for, 2 against. Councillor McAloon's motion is carried. What I would like to do, and I know it sounds a bit belated, like
We can't hear you, Kevin.
Kevin, we can't hear you.
keeps getting blocked off. I'd like to thank Danny for what he did on the report. He went down, I know he went down by his green. I know he was active with all the allotment holders down there and getting all allotment holders down there to come and speak to him is quite a feat. So thank you for that. And that is definitely not a wasted report, Danny. I really appreciate your input down there and thank you very much. Right, let's next on the list. Right, item 9, allotment rent increase.
Through you, Chair. In September 2019, the Council agreed that it would increase fees and charges incrementally year on year using the Retail Price Index, the RPI, to set a percentage increase rounded up to the nearest appropriate number. The purpose of this report is to advise what an increase would be to the allotment rents in 2022-23 if we use the RPI. Now, there's two different figures for the RPI. There's the October figure, which is 1.3%, or the annual average from April to October, which is 1.7%. Members will see that if they go with the 1.3% increase, a 200 square yard allotment would increase from £20.34 per annum to £20.60, which is 24 pence per annum. If they went for the 1.7% increase, it would go from £20.34 to £20.68, a 34% increase. So the proposed rent increase described actually complies with the statutory requirements, are in line with different courts' decisions. Spennymoor Town Council fulfils its statutory allotment duty by providing over 650 allotment gardens on 19 sites across the area, although 2 are run by management committees, and tenants must be given 12 months notice of any increase. So members are basically being asked this evening, as they've previously agreed to go with the RPI, which RPI percentage increase would you like? Is it the 1.3% or the 1.7%?
I've got nobody down, I think. Nobody seems to want to speak. Sorry, Councillor Ranyard is in the chat box now.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I think in real terms, it's a very small amount that's being asked for in an increase. I don't think it's unreasonable at all to be asking for this small increase. So I would say the 1.7% is not a lot. It's 34 pence. So I propose that we increase by that RPI index of 1.7%.
I'd like to second that.
Thank you. Before we go to a vote, I'd like to make a comment, if I may, please, on the recommendations. The recommendations say the allotment service runs at a substantial loss and therefore subsidised by the taxpayer to a large extent. Small annual rent increases are preferable to one large increase and go somewhere to mitigate the subsidisation of allotments by the wider tax-paying community. I've got a little bit concerned about that. I've read it a couple of times and I thought we're really victimising allotment holders there. I mean, just about everything the town council does is double taxation. We subsidise the bowling green, we subsidise the park on numerous occasions. And the way that's laid out there seems to be a bit of a stigma about allotment holders being subsidised by taxpayers. I think when we do the minutes, I would like to try and alter that, please, so it doesn't look as though we're stigmatising allotment holders for being subsidised by the town council and the taxpayers of Spennymoor, when just about everything is double taxation with the town council, and many of our other, like the park, the bowling, just about everything is subsidised. So could I ask the town clerk, please, to try and tone the recommendation down from the point of view of saying that we're subsidising the allotment holders. Now, can we go to a vote for the 1.7%, please?
Through you, Chair, can I just respond to that? Firstly, that doesn't appear in the minutes, only the decisions appear in the minutes. Secondly, what I've stated is a fact. And you've mentioned that we subsidise other things. Everything else we subsidise is open to everybody to use. The allotments are only open to the tenancy holders to use. So members of the public are paying for a service that they cannot access because they cannot just walk onto someone's allotment garden, whereas they can walk into Jubilee Park, they can use the community centres if they so wish. So there is a difference, but it will not appear in the minutes because the only thing that appears in the minutes is the decision from this evening.
Thank you, Town Clerk. Just for going forward, though, I think that's, my comments stand, but you're right, they don't go into the minutes, but my comment still stands there. So can we go for a vote, please, on 1.7%?
Yeah, I do have a request to speak.
Oh, sorry, my apologies. Carried away there. We've got Councillor Foster to speak.
Can I support Councillor Ranyard's proposal? And I think it is logical to go for a fixed date of the October rather than one that's spread over time. It's very similar to where that most organisations do. So every year we know exactly what the RPI is going to be. And I think people have forgotten the discussions that we had 2 years ago. The discussions that we had 2 years ago was all about sudden leaps in big accounts. I can remember we had problems with the football clubs because a sudden rise was larger than they expected. And I think we agreed then the principle is a small rise, incremental, every year covers the costs. Whereas waiting until there's such a huge demand required, we have a big leap. I think it's far more sensible to go with the proposal as outlined by Councillor Ranyard, and I'm more than happy to second that proposal.
Thank you, Councillor Foster. Councillor Ian Machin would like to speak now.
Just to add to what Councillor Foster said, can the motion specifically state, as he said, that the rate of inflation will be in October each year? So it's the annual increase from 1 October to the next October. Then it's clear and we know what it is, and when the budget's prepared, Tracy knows what it is, so there's no issues around it. The other, in 10 years' time, RPI won't be around, so or it'll be changed. But yeah, that's by the by. But October each year.
Can I bring the town clerk on that? Is
yes,
that would be the way we want to go?
Can I just clarify? Councillor Ranyard put forward that we went with the 1.7%, whereas RPI in October, a standalone, was 1.3%. Can members just clarify which figure they would like to go with?
Can I ask, is the 1.3 year on year the annual from October to October?
No, that's from April to now.
I would have thought that if we're going to do that.
The annual average is 1.7%.
Excuse me, Chair, can I come in?
I don't know what that means. But yes, sorry.
Go ahead, Tracy.
Yes, sorry, Tracy. Yes, I thought I was waiting for you to come in. Sorry.
Sorry, Chair. The 1.7 actually, sorry, is actually it's annual. It's the November 19 to October, so it's a 12-month average. Whereas the 1.3 was the RPI in October this year.
That's what. Well, that's in line with what we're proposing, I think.
So the The 1.7 is the average for 12 months, and the 1.3 is the October position, October 2020.
So it's
Thank you.
1.7.
Councillor Malloy?
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, just clarification of Councillor Ranyard. It was the 1.7% increase, wasn't it?
If I come in, Chair, yeah, that was what I proposed, that we implement a 1.7% increase in the rent based on the annual RPI.
Cheers.
I've got Councillor Richards to speak again.
Thank you, Chair.
Sorry, for the first time.
Sorry. Well, I was going to say I also agree with Councillor Ranyard that going off that full 1 year average of 1.7% is much better. But I know that this was before my time on the council when it was set at the RPI and to make it manageable for allotment holders. But reading into this report about and respectfully as to what you were saying about the paying for services and what the town clerk was saying about allotments are private and that they're costing £55,130 against an income of 17,247, an increase of the 1.7 RPI of 34 pence multiplied by the 650 allotments is only an additional income of £221. And given our previous discussion item was about pest control within the allotment, I don't know if I feel that the increase of 1.7 is actually enough considering the things that we are going to have to be doing as a council for those allotment holders. Because £221 isn't going to pay for Councillor McAloon's motion for an allotment consultant to come out, and that's a lot of money. Or rather, it's not a lot of money for what we're going to be providing them with. I don't think that's very fair on the residents of Spennymoor that don't have an allotment. Thank you.
Councillor Richards, we understand what you're saying, but we went through a big learning curve and quite a big argument or discussion over this 2 years ago. And the general feeling was, as Councillor Foster says, that really this was the way we decided to go. And I think it would be very difficult to do a U-turn now, although everything you're saying is common sense. And
apologies, I'm a maths teacher, I do the maths.
And probably when you come and look at it, you think, wow, £200 and against what it costs. But we went through a lot of soul searching and a lot of trouble, and we've arrived at doing it this way. I mean, even the administration of changing it every year probably costs more than what we will retrieve in the. It's something we decide to go with, and we've gone with. And I thank you for your input there. But in this instance, I think the majority of people probably want to go with the 1.7. Can I put that to a vote? Obviously, you can vote which way you want, Councillor.
Okay, we've got Councillor Foster.
Agree.
Councillor Hammers left the meeting. Councillor Mr. Merchant.
Agree.
Councillor Mrs. Merchant.
Agreed.
Councillor Mr. Madison.
Agreed.
Councillor Mrs. Madison.
Agreed.
Councillor McAloon.
Agreed.
Councillor Malloy.
Agreed.
Councillor Ranyard.
Agreed.
Councillor Riches.
Agreed.
Councillor Thompson. And Councillor Wood.
Agreed.
Unanimous.
Yeah, unanimous. So thank you, everybody. That's the last item on the agenda. So we will see you all again before Christmas. So thank you very much. Bye.